Thank you. You have a great voice. Thank you. We live in a very busy world. Have you noticed that? Work is busy. Life is busy. If you have families, families are busy. If you have kids, kids are busy. Communities are busy. We live in a go, 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 go world. And we ask a lot of ourselves, especially when you work for a company this incredible. You work hard when you're here, don't you, every single day? I want to thank you for what you do. You're the ones who show up when people like me need you. You may not be the person who shows up at my door, but you're the one who enables the person to show up at my door when I have an emergency. What you do matters to individuals. You're the cavalry. You show up, and people know that they're not alone. What you do matters to communities. What you do matters to our state and to our nation. You are an incredible company filled with incredible employees. And when you gather people like that together, very often you get people who give, work, 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 go, go, go. And that is fantastic, as long as you're taking care of yourself along the way. And so what I want to do in our very brief time that we have together today is look at things in your life that are energy drainers. The things that take your joy, that take your enthusiasm, that take the best of you and drain your tank in an instant. And we're going to look at how do we avoid our self-inflicted stress. See, stress is going to swirl around us. That's the nature of life. But our self-inflicted stress is an entirely different proposition. I want you to take care of yourself and stop the energy drainers. We're going to focus on that first. And then the last part of the presentation, we're going to look at the energizers, the things that you can do to ensure that you're operating at your fullest potential, to ensure that you have the energy that you need to show up at work each and every day as the very best version of yourself, to show up for your families as the best version of yourself, and lastly, to show up for yourself as the best version of yourself. And in this day and age, we have to be incredibly strategic if we want to keep our energy levels high and we want to go for the long haul. And that's what we're talking about here. Anyone can push for a certain amount of time, but we can't push beyond that. Has anyone in here, you probably wouldn't raise your hand, ever done burnout? I've done burnout. And I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, that is a terrifying space. I don't want you to be there. What I found is there is a tipping point. And I remember as I got out of the burnout that I made a conscious decision that I would never go toward the edge again. Because it's a ravine. And climbing out of a ravine is not an easy thing to do. Far easier to be proactive on the front end. So, are you ready to get started? Okay, in life, I have found there are 3 types of people. There are people who do more than their share of the work. How many of you do more than your share of the work? Yeah, I'm not going to compare you to the first audience, but I am going to tell you like a lot of hands went up. How many of y'all do more than your share of the work? Yeah, does that ever make you grumpy? Yes, it does, because you know it's not fair. How many of you do more share of your work in your friendships? Yeah. How many of you do more of your share of the work in your family? Yeah, that's a recipe for resentment. How many of you do more than your share in your community and in the organizations that you're part of? Yeah. Here's what I want to say. Thank you. And that is not who I want you to be. Because if you are doing more than your share on a consistent basis, what are you enabling others to do? Less than their share. It is a parasitic relationship. Somebody who does less than their share, an under-functioner, has to have a host. I would prefer that that not be you. Parasites are not good things. We take drugs to get rid of them. I'm going to give you some skills today to get rid of some parasitic behavior. So we don't want to overfunction and enable people to do less than their share. Companies don't work well when there are people doing more than their share and less than their share. Relationships don't work well. Families don't work well. Communities don't work well. What we want is Goldilocks. Do your share. That's what we're looking for in life. But sometimes it's hard to know what your share is, especially if you're wired to be highly responsible. Do you ever get confused about what you should be doing and when you should or shouldn't be helping people? Yeah, and do any of you ever do stuff because you feel sorry for people? And do any of you ever say yes to stuff you want to say no to? Yeah. Well, what we're going to work on today is how do we find that sweet spot of do your share? Now, this happens personally as well as professionally. And I thought I had really good boundaries and was good at doing my share. Right up until the day somebody said to me, a colleague, you know, that's never the start of a good sentence. You know, I have this former colleague. She lost her job. I've given her a 3-month temporary assignment. She's living in my daughter's bedroom, and it's been a month, and it's not working for us. Is there any way that you can help me out, please? And I went, ugh. I knew. But I felt sorry for her. And my brain said, it's 3 months, right? 3 months, there's an expiration date. I can do that. So I let this woman who I didn't like very well. She was weird. I wouldn't have picked her as a friend, certainly not as a roommate, but I let her move into my house. And it was fascinating. She really didn't look for a job. And so 3 months came, 3 months left, and she had not found a new job. And I felt sorry for her, so what did I do? I let her stay. By 6 months, I'm ticked. I'm like, I cannot stand to have you in my house. You have got to get out of here. But I felt sorry for her. And I didn't know what to do about it. So if you ever found yourself talking about a person or a problem over and over and over and over and over again, that's a clue that you need to do something. My best friend, I don't know how she did it, but oh my gosh, that woman listened to me complain day after day after day. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about? I was the biggest energy drainer I have ever known because I was so mad, but I didn't know what to do, and I felt bad for her, and she didn't have anywhere to go, so I didn't do anything. Where do you think I was by 9 months? I was way beyond angry. I was bitter, and it was starting to go into all areas of my life. So I get every ounce of my courage, and I say to her, I'm going to need for you to find a job, or I'm going to need for you to leave. And then the wet noodle says, I'll give you 3 months. Here's the bottom line. My background was in careers. I know it typically takes 6 to 9 months to find a job. So I just wanted her to, I don't know what I wanted. It was wishy-washy. But it was fascinating. Once I said there was an expiration date, she started looking for a job. And she got one. I was so excited. I remember the day she got the job thinking, ding dong, the witch is dead. I mean, I was celebrating right up until the next morning. And she came down and she said, I turned them down. That's a very appropriate response. It's not what I want to do. And I went, I want to kill you. But this is what I did. I did what all of us do when somebody crosses the line, heart shut, done and doner. And so then I said to her, listen, you have 2 weeks. I said you needed a job, you got one, you didn't take it, you have 2 weeks and you're out of here. And then she began the emotional manipulation that people who do less than their share do, who want to manipulate you into continuing to do more than your share. So what do you think she started with? Waterworks. Life is hard. my parent dropped me on my head. There's what she said, but that's basically what she was saying. And the whole time I'm just like, harden your heart, Sherene, harden your heart. Because it worked. It felt terrible. It's designed to work. But I went, no frickin' way am I backing off this, because I will be stuck with you forever. And I could not bear the thought of that. So that went on for about a week, the tears. And when she saw that wasn't going to work, she flipped the quarter over to the other side of emotional manipulation, and she became angry and aggressive. And this is what she said: "You're selfish. How could you? You call yourself a Christian." And I went, whoa. What should she have been saying? Thank you very much? Wow, I didn't have to pay rent for 9 months? That wasn't a very smart move on my part either. Had I been charging her, I bet she would have been gone in 7. Anyway, here's the bottom line. I just kept hardening my heart. I didn't respond. I just went, I need her out of here. She's the only person I've ever said, never contact me again in my life. Ever. And to her credit, she never has. And she left, and I went, whew. And I thought, all right, what went wrong here? How did I, who I thought I had good boundaries, have such bad boundaries? And sometimes people just fly in under our radar. My best friend, sometimes I'll say to her, I have no freaking boundaries. And she'll say, oh, pal, they flew in under your radar. Don't you love that saying? Because what can we always do with our radars? We recalibrate radars all the time. So if somebody flies under your radar, just go, oh, man, they flew under my radar, and then you change the radar. So I believe in life that once we pass a major life test, it generally comes back just to see if we've really got it. So I'm at lunch one day with a woman who brings in speakers. This is when I just started speaking, and I'm like, oh, I want to speak for your organization. And so we're together, and she says to me, I quit my job. I'm like, oh, what are you going to do? I don't know. Oh. If you're going to quit your job, I think it's a good idea to have a backup plan. What do y'all think? Just a thought. So she said to me, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my condo. Oh, that would be bad. Yeah, it would. But you have an extra bedroom, don't you? No, I don't. I thought, oh my gosh, the test comes back around. And I get to either have another hard life lesson or I get to learn. Take my pick. I picked to learn. So I'm starting to go, how do I know when I should help? I grew up in a family that you helped people. Did anybody else grow up like that? This was the message of my family. You have been so blessed. You need to be a blessing. And so I felt I always had to say yes and to be a blessing. And I felt guilty when I said no. I still feel guilty when I say no. Do any of you feel guilty when you say no? Yeah, here's what I'm going to tell you. Guilt goes away. That is a really good thing to know in life. Anywhere from 15 minutes to 3 days, you can white knuckle it. I had one woman after I spoke when she said, I feel guilty all the time. I said, your guilt radar is off. That's a good time to work with a counselor. Guilt goes away, but resentment always builds. If you must pick between guilt and resentment, pick guilt every single time, because guilt goes away. But then I needed some more concrete rules for how and when to say yes. And Henry Cloud of Townsend and Cloud Boundaries fame wrote a book, and I was reading this paragraph, and it was like the sky parted, ta-da! And this is what he said, basically. In life, there are boulders, and there are backpacks. Boulders are life's crushing blows. They're why this organization exists. You are there for communities and individuals when the boulder falls on them. That's America at its best. It's individuals at their very best, is when there is a crushing blow. What's a crushing blow? You know this. Illness, death, divorce, fires, accidents, things that can bring us to our knees. In my community, there was a family, and their oldest daughter got cancer. And they took her to treatment, and she got better. And maybe 3 or 4 years later, their youngest daughter got cancer. That's tough on a family. My best friend was one of their neighbors, and she became the checkpoint for the neighborhood. And do you know what that neighborhood did for this family? People signed up and brought meals on a rotation so that their energy could go toward getting their daughter down from Mount Pleasant to Ann Arbor. People signed up to take care of their 3 other children when they were down getting treatments. And other people gave money so that they could hire a house cleaner. Could we take away the cancer? Of course not. Could we tell them they weren't alone? Absolutely. That's when you want to show up for people. On the other hand of life, there are backpacks. And everyone in life has their own backpack. And it is our responsibility to carry our own backpack. And in your backpack is your time, your money, your job, your well-being, and your happiness. Those are internal jobs. You can't make another person happy for very long. You can give somebody money, but if they have money problems and they don't learn how to manage money and something else is going on, the money is gone quickly. We can give them our time, but if they don't learn to manage time, it's fleeting. Those are internal jobs. So in life, what happens is some people, like my ex-roommate, she's got her backpack, she's tired of carrying it, life has been hard, she sets it down. And then somebody like us comes along and we go, "Are you okay? Come on, get up, you can do this." And we intend to give them a jump start, like a battery. You know, when we give somebody a jump start, that's all it is, a jump start, and then they go on their way and we go on ours. So what we do, and what I did was I picked up her pack and we started walking. And what do you think she learned very quickly? Life without a backpack is easier. And what do you think I began to do? I already told you, I became very resentful as I'm hiking through life with 2 backpacks. So when you are given a request, I want you to say, boulder, and if it's a boulder, be there. Shoulder the boulder. But if it is a backpack, time, money, job, happiness, well-being, sack the pack. So try that one with me. Shoulder the boulder, sack the pack. Shoulder the boulder, sack the pack. I will shoulder the boulder, I will sack the pack. If you only began shouldering boulders and showing up for life's crushing blows, instead of carrying other people's backpacks, would you have more time? Would you have more energy? Could you donate your energy and your time to causes that mattered, to your family, to this incredible company? The answer is yes. So going forward, what are we going to do? You all are brilliant. Fantastic. All right, let's look at the next thing. When you start saying no, and by the way, I have in the back for you a little card that has the highlights of today, and then I have 7 ways that you can say no without giving an explanation. They are no, no thank you, that doesn't work for me, I can't do that, but I'm happy to do this. I'm flattered to be asked, but my plate is full. You might want to ask, and then you put in the name of the slacker. That's my favorite. Let me get back with you, and I can help you with that next week, next month, next year. It used to say when pigs fly, my mom's like, that's not very nice. I said, Mama, you don't say it, you think it. Here's the bottom line. Those are in the back for anybody who wants those. When you start saying no, you're going to see some bad behavior. And some of you might be engaging in this behavior. And if you are, it's just an invitation to go, wow, maybe there's something in life I need to do a little bit of work on. So the first type of people that are going to take your energy are the drainers. They're the Eeyores of life. You know, nothing ever good happens. They have crisis after crisis after crisis. They suck the life out of any room and person. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so everybody go like this. Put on your chest. Make a sucking sound. That's what they take, your soul, every single time. Here's what I want you to do is go, that is under-functioning. These people need to start picking up their backpack. So Linda Johnson, a former student of mine, she's a writer, she's a brilliant woman. I was reading her book, and in it she had one line that I went, aha. I love those moments when I read a book and I just go, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Here's what she said. Instead of letting people drain you, when they start doing it, you want to listen with compassion, and then here's your line. This one's worth writing down, I think. You say with compassion, what are you going to do about that? Where does that put the responsibility? With them. Now, if they are a well-trained drainer and they're used to doing this to you, and what's the usual response? Well, have you tried this? Well, let me help you with this. Well, what about this? You know how we do that with them, trying to make them happy or take care of their problems? The minute you say, what are you going to do about that? This is what they do. They go, it's like you're dancing with them and you just stepped on their toes because you're doing the wrong dance step. But that puts the responsibility where it should be. Second time, if they come back, because you're not going to be as much fun anymore when you do that. Second time, if they come back, I want you to be a little less compassionate, but still compassionate, and say, wow, what are you going to do about that? And if they come by the third time, I want you to say, hang on a second, we've already talked about this. What are you going to do about it? They're not going to keep coming to you to drain you, because you are no longer fun. So one of two things will happen. They will find somebody else to drain. That's a victory in your life. But even better, and what often happens, is they actually take the action that they need to take to be more productive, to pick up their backpack, and to live a life that works for them as well as for other people. So everybody practice that one. Put your compassionate face on. Wow, what are you going to do about that? Turn to your neighbor. Wow, what are you going to do about that? All right. That is the best line for drainers. The second group of people I want you to be on high alert for are takers. Takers take more than they give. They take your time, they take your money, they take your tools, they take credit for your work. They will take anything that you will give them. What makes them a taker is they don't give anything in return. So everybody go like this. We're going to do the monster mash, keep you awake. This is what a healthy relationship looks like. I give, you take, I take, you give. I give, you take. Oops, I've got a boulder, I take. Oops, you hit a boulder, you take. And then it goes back to the middle. I give, I take, you give. That is a healthy relationship. We get stuck and something is out of whack when we are only a giver. And I'm going to tell you the clue. You might have a little bit of low self-esteem because if you only think your worth is in giving, you don't ask for anything back. And if all you do is take, what you've said is, I am so much more important than anyone else. The world revolves around me and my needs. And what we want is a world where you matter and I matter. And we both give and we both take. So what do you do with a taker? You ask them for something. And they will tell you who they are. Maya Angelou says, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Takers will disappear. Or they'll go, oh, and they'll step up to the plate and give more. Both are wins. The third group of people that I want you to stay away from at all costs are players. Players make promises, but they don't follow through. I'll help you with that project. Sure, I'll do that. I'll help you move. I'll help you. I can do that. Let's do this. And they hold out these glitzy, wonderful promises, and the player drops the ball. Now, here's the bottom line. We're human beings. If you're in a relationship with me that has any depth or time, I'm going to just tell you flat out, I'm going to let you down sometime. And I'll let you in on a secret. You're going to let me down too. We're human beings. We're not talking about perfection here. What we're talking about are patterns. So if something happens once and you have a conversation and you go, oh, okay, all right. Like my best friend 3 years ago said to me, you missed my birthday. It really hurt my feelings. I said, I am so sorry, because she goes all out for my birthday. Do you know how many reminders I have of her birthday on my calendar? I get pop-up reminders. I have it. I mean, I'm setting them 2 weeks in advance so I get the card there in time, because I don't want to let her down, and I don't want to be a player, but I let her down. And she told me and gave me an opportunity to show up. So I called her yesterday, and I said, hey, how you doing? Just want to hear about your weekend and tell you happy birthday week. So she texts me, and she's like, oh, my gosh, thanks. You get double points for remembering. I love double points. That's the best place to be. Here's the bottom line. Players hold out promises. They don't follow through. When people tell you who they are, believe them. I happen to consider myself an expert on players. Do you want to know why? I dated so many of them. And finally, one day, I'm like, I deserve more. Have you ever thought that in a relationship? I deserve more. But players are very astute at reading people, and they're very astute at keeping you around because they have a vested interest in playing you. And so I'm like, I deserve more. And I finally got this picture. I'm this fish in this pond, and this guy is the little fisherman, and I'm like, I deserve more. And I start to go away, and what does he do? The fisherman goes, and the lure catches the light. But it's such a pretty light. And then you swim in the pond for 3 more months. Here's what I want you to say is, don't do that. Ask for more than glints of sunshine. Ask for more than crumbs. Ask for more than just enough to keep you around. Ask people to show up. One of 2 things will happen. They'll show up, or they'll disappear. Both are a victory. The last type of person I want you to stay away from as much as you can are the gators. So gators take a bite of other people's souls. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's usually under the guise in the beginning of humor, and it hurts your feelings. And if you have the audacity to call them on it, do you know what they say? You need to get a sense of humor. Do you know what I want to say? No, you need some conflict resolution skills. That's what's needed, not a sense of humor. It's designed to wound and to control. Because who wants a bite of their flesh taken? What do we do with gators? We keep them in the zoo behind cages. But how many of you let gators have full reign in your relationships and in your life? It's a scary place. So I had a colleague once, and people always do what are called trial behaviors, and they want to know what they can get away with. So it's 4 weeks into my first job as a professor, and she makes a snipe at me. And I'm like, ouch, that didn't feel good. So I went to her office. I'm like, are you angry with me? She said, no. I said, have I offended you? She said, no. I said, I would prefer you not speak to me that way. I will work through any problem with you. Fine, I'm just stressed. What's that code for? Shut up and get out. And I said, oh, I understand that you're stressed, and I would still prefer you not speak to me that way. Fine. Starting to. But she behaved for an entire year. That's a victory. Year 2, week 4, what do you think happened? Exact same thing. Now it's a pattern. Anything that happens twice is a pattern. We have a verbatim conversation. She behaves for another entire year. Year 3, week 4, so we had a verbatim conversation, but that year I ended the conversation with, I'm wondering what we'd like to do differently so that we don't have to have this conversation next year. She behaved for 13 years. That's amazing. Year 16, week 4. I kid you not, she gator bit me. I'm like, that does not work for me, pal. Didn't work when I was a kid. It is not working now. And I backed her down, and she behaved for the next 2.5 years before I left to speak full time. we train people how to treat us. We want to call gators on their behavior. But what if she had gotten away with that her whole life? Or what if she had done it and I hadn't said that isn't going to work? She would have gotten bigger like a baby gator grows, right? So go like this. Everybody do baby gator. She was a baby gator. Yep. When you can nuzzle a baby gator, try it. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world, nuzzle a baby gator. But if you let bad behavior left unchecked, it will grow. Dr. Brenda Freeman says that. So put your finger in an L. Now try and close that. You can do it, but it takes a lot more effort and energy. So I like to live in life, see it, say it. Don't wait for 6 years for bad behavior to take it on. So these are harder, but they're worth taking on. But then I had the colleague who, when I had the audacity to disagree with him, his chest got 6 inches bigger. He came across the table and just started yelling in my face. I mean, his finger was right here. I'm like, whoa. What message was that man sending me? And everybody else in the room. If you cross me, I will eviscerate you. And you know what most people do? They do, because who wants eviscerated? So over the course of years, this went on about 6 times, and every time I would go in his office, try to have the same conversation as the baby gator, and every time he would get angrier and angrier, and then he would yell at me and he would kick me out of his office. And then guess who became my boss? I'm like, oh my gosh, so what am I going to do? He's not just a peer anymore. This man is my boss. And I thought about it, and I mustered every bit of courage I had in my life. And I went into his office, and I said, if you take me on in public again, I will take you on back. I will no longer give you the courtesy of a closed-door conversation. And then I was real tough. It was a union shop. And then I said, like a 2-year-old, and if you treat me unfairly, I will grieve you. I literally felt like a 2-year-old. But that was my line in the sand. What do you think he did? Get out! I'm like, okay, that didn't go so well. But I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, he gets mad at me about 6 weeks later, and instead of talking to me, he sends me a letter of reprimand. Don't do that if you're a leader. You talk to people when there's a problem. I went, yeah, that's not working. So I thought, but I can't talk to him because it's not safe. Because it literally isn't safe to be around a big gator. So I called the dean and I said, I need a meeting with you in the chair. He said, fine. And we went in, and because there was a leader there, a powerful person, how do you think he behaved? Very well, thank you. We negotiated a win-win settlement because there was a powerful third party there. Now here's the interesting thing. Because he wasn't allowed, he didn't allow himself because of the situation, to just immediately blow up, we actually worked through the differences. And we created a win-win solution. And when he retired 8 years later, I actually cried. Not tears of joy this time. I cried because I was losing a colleague that I had grown to admire, respect, and appreciate. And I was losing an ally. And that was a sad day for me. I still think very, very highly of him, but it would have never happened had I not gone to a higher third party. And so in life, one of the things that you'll want to know if you don't already know is if you have the power, you can problem solve. But if you don't have power, you problem manage. And those are 2 very, very different skill sets. So if you began to shoulder the boulder and sack the pack, if you said no to drainers, takers, players, and gators, what would your energy level be like? Would it be different? Would you have more freedom for fun? Could you do even more incredible things at work and incredible things in your life and with your family? Yes. Those are the major energy drainers that we have control over. Could I completely control my new boss? Of course not. It's another human being, and he had more power than I did. But I can control my actions within, and when somebody tells me they're unsafe, I can begin to set boundaries that protect me. I want to invite you to do the same, personally as well as professionally. It's so important that we have good boundaries. But it's equally important to begin to fill your tank and to energize yourself. So let's talk about 3 things that are guaranteed energy enhancers. The first of them is harnessing your humor. How many of you have a good sense of humor? Yeah, look at that. I love that. This place is full of them. I'm not surprised because it's a phenomenal, healthy environment. So I bet you all laugh hard. I've yet to talk to one person who doesn't say, I love this company. I love my job. That's an incredible company to work for. I work for companies that are distressed. It's very different. You all have done a phenomenal job. So if you're laughing, you're showing the best version of yourself at work. Have you noticed that laughter bonds us? It creates relationships. Laughter, you all are in the insurance business. You know the medical facts about laughter. We have greater health. Literally, laughter is medicine. And then the last thing that laughter does is it buys our brain a minute on a hard day to go, how do I want to react here? I'm going to be okay. So in my world, here's what I believe with all my heart. I don't get to have a bad day. Not that I don't have them, trust me, but I don't get to have a bad day on a stage because nobody's going to pay a speaker who bores or depresses them. Have you noticed that? Yeah. You deserve every day that you are in my audience and a company like yours hires me, you deserve the very best of me. The very best of me. And your company deserves the best of you. So I get a choice every day. Am I going to tip into anger and frustration, or am I going to stay on the bright side and tip into laughter and joy in life? And I choose laughter, joy, and life. Do I get it right every time? Of course not. Do I change my radar and once I get a grip on things, figure out where the laughter is? Of course. So let me give you an example. I decided a while back I wanted to date, and I got on a free dating site. And I'm going to tell you something about life. You get what you pay for. Yep. So the first guy says to me, I'd really like to give you a call. So I type him back. I said, that sounds great. He sets a time. He doesn't call. Doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't know him. Then he says, I'm sorry. Please give me another chance. Anybody who begs has probably had practice begging. That was a red flag. But I thought, we'll give him one more chance. So he sets another time, and he doesn't call. I'm like, whatever. He's a flake. I'm done. So the next day he calls me and leaves a message, and this is what he says. Sherene, please give me another chance. I'm really sorry. I really want to get to know you. Please give me a call. So I give him a call, and I say, thank you so much for your interest. But chaos doesn't work for me. I wish you the very best in finding the love of your life. Again, thank you. Click. I'm happy. I'm done. It's okay. No baggage here. But 2 months later, I get a phone call, and you know what he says? Hey, Sherene, it's Tony. I've been sober for 2 weeks, and I really want to take you out. Woohoo! And then I went to a singles event, and this guy had some Eeyore energy, but I wasn't as wise as I am today. So I said, well, how you doing? I'm okay. You don't sound so okay. Well, I declared bankruptcy this week. That's sexy. Yeah. But he didn't know when to leave sexy alone, because you want to know what he told me next? He had been incarcerated by the state of Michigan. I said, thank you for paying your debt to society. But my all-time favorite was a man who asked me to dance at a singles dance. And I don't remember what he said to me first, but I will never forget what he said to me second. He said to me, my ex gave me an incurable STD. I remember distinctly thinking, what does Emily Post say is the right answer to that? Thank you for sharing? I don't remember what I said. Here's the bottom line. Laughter just makes life more fun. Laughter keeps you in a good space instead of a bitter, resentful space. Laughter sets us up for good things to come to us. Bitterness repels people and good things. Find the laughter. The only rules are don't do it at somebody else's expense. Don't use their weakness. Don't use things against people to get a laugh. That's a Gator. Now, some of you are going, but you just laughed at 3 men. And I'm like, yes, but they're not here. And we have no idea who they are. And it's appropriate laughter without any mean digs. And I'm going to say, just for the men in here, I have heard some doozies that women have told you. It goes both ways. Find the laughter, you'll always have more energy. Can you do it? Of course you can. If you're not naturally funny, feed your funny bone. It'll grow. Have some fun with it. Second thing I want you to look at in the Energizer is to fill your tank. How many of you put gasoline in your car probably once a week, right? Anybody do that? Yeah, because what happens when we don't fill our tank? Cars stop running. We don't get where we want to go. How many of you have a fantastic smartphone? Do you plug that thing in every single night? Of course, because when the battery dies, what happens? Chaos. What do we do without those phones? We freak out. We are very strategic about our phones and our cars, but we're not always so strategic about our souls. We treat ourselves as though we have unlimited resources and unlimited energy. And the truth of the matter is, we don't. You can do it for a long time. But have any of you ever hit burnout? It's rough. So here's what I want to invite you to do, is to begin to feed your soul. Now, I don't know what makes you happy, but you heard a bit about what makes me happy in the introduction. In the summer, I love being out on the water. I look out at the lake, I get down on the boat, and do you know what my soul literally does? Do you know what I'm talking about? Your soul needs that in a high-pressure, busy world, in a chaotic world where news is bad 24/7, 365. We've got to have soul spots where we just go, you put me on a jet ski or on a fast boat, and it's like, I just love that. In the winter, oh my gosh, I love barreling down ski hills. The faster, the better. I figured out last season, it was a sunny day, that I could race the chairs. So, like, I'm just having the time of my life. I get down, and the operator guy is like, you're the giggly girl. And I went, I am. Sometimes when I'm skiing, I'm grinning so big my teeth get cold. And I leave the hill, and I'm energized, and I'm creative, and I can show up for life and relationships. That's who we want to be. I get to show up for work as the best version of myself. I don't know what makes you happy, but I guarantee you there are a couple things on earth that do. Do you want to know what makes my sister giddy and happy? Lobster. Yeah, you tell her lobster's on sale somewhere, she goes, oh. And we went to Maine once, I'm not kidding. Before the food would come, she'd be like this. She'd get a little flushed. I've never seen anything like it. My sister is so easy in life. Give her a lobster once a month, she's going to be happy, seriously. I have another friend, and she gets energized and excited about a Starbucks specialty coffee. You know what I give her for Christmas? A Starbucks card, and she loves me because it makes her literally a little bit giddy. I don't know what makes you happy, what floods you with endorphins, but if you don't, that is your number one assignment today, is to figure out what makes you happy. I kind of look at fun and not having enough fun as anorexia. So if you're not having enough fun, you may not even recognize that you have a problem. But I guarantee you other people can see it. When people have fun and are energized, they're fun to be around. When you do more than your share, you don't take time for yourself, you don't do anything that energizes you, I'm just going to tell you, you're not so fun to be around. You probably have a short fuse. It's just not as pleasant. What do you need to do to take care of your soul? So when you leave here, here's your assignment, because I was a professor, so I got to give you an assignment, you know. Here's the assignment. I want you to write down 3 things that are guaranteed to make you happy. And then I want you to actually do them. That's when the magic truly happens. So I think if you're doing something fun once a week, you're in a good space. If you're doing something fun once a month or less, you're not going to be in a good emotional state. You're just not. And I also think the other thing we always need in life is something that we're looking forward to. My brother is up for the National Middle School PE Teacher of the Year. He's one of 5. He's a Southern District winner. And my family is all going to Tampa to cheer his successes and to hopefully watch him win an award that I think he deserves. So I am so looking forward to that. Do you think I'm going to have energy between now and when we all arrive in Tampa? You bet. And then in July, I'll be out in Wyoming, where I went to school, and back in my mountains. And on a rough day, do you think I can picture my mountains? And I go, I can do it. We can do anything with a carrot in front of us. But if we don't have those and we're not having fun, each of us has a little person inside us. I call mine little girl. You might call yours little girl, little boy. I don't know what you call yours. But here's what I know about me, is if you don't let me have fun, I get grumpy. And I sit on the couch or I sit on the curb and I go on strike. And little girl doesn't take much to make happy. Just let her have a little bit of fun. For all of you who are planners, please make sure that you get out your calendar and you actually schedule fun and things that energize you. And I want you to hold that as sacredly as you would a meeting with with the president of this fine organization. That's how important I believe that is, and hope that you will hold that. Now some of you are going, well, it's not always possible. And it's like, of course it's not always possible, but find the pockets first. And if you have to cancel, reschedule immediately. Your soul will thank you. Your workplace will thank you. The people in your life will thank you. And you're going to have a lot more energy and fun. Can you do it? Of course you can. I think the question always is will you do it? And that's always the question that you alone can answer. All right, let's look at the last energizer that I think is an incredible force in life, and it is the ability to dream. I had the gift of growing up with a daddy who's a dreamer. And my whole life, my dad has said, dream big, sweetheart, dream big. Good things happen when you dream big. And I would nod, and he would always say, but sweetheart, the price of dreaming is pain. And I would nod my head like I knew what that meant. 8th grade, school magazine sales. An all-expenses paid trip to Europe was up for grabs. I went home and I said, Mama, I'm going to win a trip to Europe. She said, well, how are you going to do that, darling? Well, all I have to do is sell a Reader's Digest, and then I get to go and pick a form, and if it has the right thing, then I get to write a 25-word or less essay about what I can learn from an all-expenses paid trip to Europe. Do you want to buy a Reader's Digest? No, Grandpa gives us one every year. Okay, undeterred. I went everywhere. Trying to sell a Reader's Digest, want to win a trip to Europe. Do you want one? No. 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 Mama, I can't sell a Reader's Digest. Sweetheart, doctors buy magazines. And the woman who never wanted me hurt, who always wanted my feet on the ground, drove me to doctor's office after doctor's office until one man said yes. Went on a trip to Europe. So I went to the principal's office and I got my little entry form and I scraped it off, and there was an R, an S, or a T, and you were done. But if Pegasus, the winged horse, was there, you got to write the essay. And there was Pegasus, and I went on a trip to Europe. And so I went home, we did what my family does, and we bandied about ideas. And it was so long ago, my mom got out the typewriter, and she typed my essay, which basically said, winning this trip to Europe will make me a better citizen of my town, my country, the world. And I sent it off, please, 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 God, please let me win a trip to Europe. And I never heard a word. I got invited to compete in a major competition, but it was over spring break when the trip to Europe was coming up. And do you know what I said? I think I'll be in Europe. I can't. They're like, okay. And then one day, all junior high students, please report to the auditorium. Walk in, and there's the Reader's Digest man. Gina, somebody from our school won that trip. And my heart started pounding and my hands started shaking, and I knew that I would die if somebody else got my trip. And he stood up there and he said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Best magazine sales ever. He said, we had 13,500 entries. And we picked 17 winners, one from each region of the United States. And there is a winner at Dover Junior High. And then he called my name. Ah, the audience goes nuts. I go down like I'm on The Price is Right. I'm from small town America. And the next day, my picture's on the front page. And I go to Europe, and I become a better citizen of my town, my country, the world. But even more importantly, I learned how to dream. My dad was right. Good things happen when you dream. But my dad's also right. When you open your heart up to things you really want, when they don't happen, it hurts. I got a book, and it was called Wishcraft, and W-I-S-H. And the author promised that if I would write down 100 things that I wanted to do, have, or be, they would magically begin to happen with little or no effort on my part. By this time, I'd won a trip to Europe, I'd won a cruise to the Bahamas, and I'd won a curling iron. You know, it was the curling iron that convinced me. Anyway, I'm like, I'm in. So I remember sitting up on Old Mission Point and starting my journal of 100 things. And I hit 10, and I'm like, well, what else do I want? I don't know. And then things would just begin to bubble up. And I finally got my list of 100. And I had things in there that were frivolous. I wanted Olympic gold in archery. It did not happen. It did not hurt. I had not shot a bow and arrow since I was 7. But doesn't a gold medal sound nice? I wrote down that I wanted to have $35 million in the bank by the time I was 35. Didn't happen, didn't hurt. They're dreams, they're just wishes. They're frivolous. I hope your list of 100 will have those. But there were dreams on there that I wanted. I wanted to teach for my university in Hawaii. Do you know how many times my university paid me a stipend to go to Hawaii? I quit counting at 45, but I think I've been there 48 or 49 times, always on somebody else's dime. That's a good. I wrote one thing I don't even remember writing, and I said, I want to OD on the theater in London. My mom and I found really cheap flights. They upgraded us to first class on the way over. We went to London. We went to the theater every day. We flew home coach. I said, you got to dream a little more carefully because first class is more fun than coach. Here's the bottom line. I got that journal out about 5 years later, and 40 of those things had come true with little or no effort on my part. That's an amazing percentage. But there are also things on there that didn't come true. I wanted my own children, and I didn't have them. And as the window closed on that, I mourned. And when I turned, look at me now, I'm 55. When I turned 50, I cried all over again. And that was just one of the dreams of my heart that never came true. And what I want to tell you is my dad's right. It hurts when things don't come true. But we're resilient. You mourn because it's fair to mourn what you wanted. But then you have to figure out, what do you want next? So you want to hear my new dream? I will marry a man who has kids. They will get married and have kids, and I will go straight to grandmother. I hear that's better than being a mom. Here's the bottom line. May all your dreams come true, but you're going to be okay if they don't. Mourn, and then figure out what you want next. The other thing that I've learned is while wonderful things have happened to me, the big dreams, the dreams that have never gone away, like my dream of being a full-time professional speaker, like people couldn't understand. I was a tenured full professor. They're like, why aren't you happy? I'm like, it's a good job. I'm good at doing it, but it doesn't make me happy. Do you know what I'm talking about? But speaking makes me happy, and I don't have to grade anything at the end. It's even better. The dream of writing my book. Those books didn't magically write themselves. I actually had to do that. The dreams that matter, that trip to Europe, I knocked on door after door after door. You got to put feet to your dreams. And so I worked with a business consultant, and he taught me that you can turn any dream into reality if you do 3 baby steps toward it a day. He calls them HVAs, high value activities. So if your dream is to get an advanced degree, A baby step would be to call a university. Another baby step might be to apply. Another baby step would be to start. I had one woman and she said to me, I want to get a doctorate. And I said, do it. She said, I'm too old. I'm like, you are never too old. Education changes us. I said, if you were 80 years old and you told me your dream was a doctorate, I would say, go do it. And I said, what's holding you back? She's like, I don't know. I said, here's the bottom line. If we meet again for dinner in 5 years, what's going to be different? Because the given is that 5 years will pass. She is at the dissertation stage. She keeps me in the loop, and she's all but finished, and I cannot wait to celebrate that. If your dream is to write a book, start writing. If your dream is to speak, go to Toastmasters and start speaking. If you haven't, I don't know what your dream is, but I do know that you've got to listen to the whispers of your soul, and that there are dreams that never go away, ever. And you can silence them and you can put them on a shelf. But those are the dreams that need your attention. And at the end of life, I would hate to have a conversation with you that you had a regret about something that you wish that you had done. What are the dreams of your heart? What are 3 baby steps that you can take today? Do you know if you took 3 baby steps a day, in a month you'd take 90, in a year you'd take over 1,000. If you took 1,000 steps towards something that you wanted this year, where would you be? Some of you would have already accomplished it, and some of you would be well on your way. Here's what I say about my life's work. What I teach is not rocket science. There's nothing complex in what I share. But what I teach takes courage and intentionality. The choice for wellness, the choice to live a life that matters, the choice for joy and for energy and for meaning is yours and yours alone. It's your backpack. What are you going to do about the longings of your soul? Here's what I know, is if you will shoulder the boulder and sack the pack, if you will keep drainers, gators, players, and whatever, I can never remember the 4th one. You know those 4 we talked about. If you keep those as far away as possible, if you will feed your soul with laughter, if you will energize yourself with the fuel that keeps you going, if you will give yourself permission to dream and strategically chase your dreams with 3 baby steps a day, you will live a life worth living and a life without regret. And this company will get the very best version of you. The people you love will get the very best version of you. And you will live your best life. So at the end of the day, the question is, will you do it? And the answer is, yes, I will. So let's try it if you're interested. We'll start with, can you do it?
Yes, I will.
I messed you up. Can you do it? Yes, I can. Will you do it? Yes, I will. Can you do it?
Yes, I can.
Will you do it? Yes, I will. Keep changing the world, and thank you for what you do. Thank you. Thank you.